From primetime to fourth string, Shedeur Sanders faces harsh NFL reality as Browns choose others despite injury chaos. Berea, Ohio. The NFL is a brutal meritocracy, where past accolades don't guarantee future opportunities, and that lesson is hitting Shedeur Sanders like a linebacker blitz. The former college football phenomenon, once dubbed the most electrifying quarterback of his generation, now finds himself buried on the Cleveland Browns depth chart, staring up from the fourth-string spot as training camp drama unfolds around him. Remember the Shedeur Sanders who shredded TCU for over 500 yards in a jaw-dropping Colorado debut? The quarterback who made miracles against Colorado State, marching 98 yards in double overtime with nothing but poise and precision? That guy, the Johnny Unitas Golden Arm winner and NCAA record setter, feels like a distant memory amid the sweat-soaked grind of Browns camp. Now, Sanders is throwing in opportunity periods while the coaching staff doubles down on veterans and other rookies. And even a timely hamstring injury to presumed QB2 Kenny Pickett wasn't enough to move the needle in his favor. What happened? From college king to depth chart afterthought, Sanders entered the league as arguably the most hyped fifth-round pick in years. Following a sensational college career with over 14,000 passing yards and 134 touchdowns, many analysts believed the Cleveland Browns had stolen a franchise QB at a discount. During OTAs and minicamps, Shedeur looked the part, completing a scorching 77.4% of his passes, 41 of 53, with 9 touchdowns and only 1 interception. The whispers grew louder. Could Sanders leapfrog the veterans? Could he shake up the pecking order? But then came training camp. Reality hit like a cold gust off Lake Erie. Day 1 to day done? On the opening day of full camp, Sanders struggled. Completing just 3 of 8 passes in team drills, he looked unsettled. Meanwhile, 40-year-old Joe Flacco went 5 for 5 and threw a touchdown. Kenny Pickett looked sharp, too, finishing 6 for 7. Even third-round pick Dillon Gabriel was efficient. The Browns brass took notice, and Shedeur, almost overnight, slid down the depth chart. How far? Far enough that he hasn't taken a single snap with the first-team offense. Not one. Not even with Pickett now sidelined with a hamstring injury. Instead, Gabriel has seen starter reps while Shedeur continues to run with the 2s and 3s. Some sessions, he works exclusively in second-field scenarios, those quiet corners of practice where depth chart long shots grind for slivers of attention. It's not a demotion, it's a redirection. But for Shedeur Sanders, it's becoming hard to ignore the message, not yet. The Pickett injury that should have been a breakthrough. On July 27th, the Browns' quarterback carousel took another unexpected turn. Kenny Pickett, who had emerged as the most consistent presence in camp behind Deshaun Watson, tweaked his hamstring during a red zone drill. The play, a beautiful touchdown throw rolling to his right. The result, immediate discomfort, a limp, and an early end to practice. With Pickett now undergoing evaluation and Watson still out, one might expect a reshuffling, a merit-based adjustment. But instead, Cleveland has stuck to what appears to be a predetermined script. Flacco, with nearly 2 decades of experience and a Super Bowl MVP under his belt, continues to command the huddle. Gabriel's processing speed and third-round status make him a developmental darling. Pickett's experience, even injured, keeps him in the plans. And Shedeur? He remains the wild card, the upside project, the long-term investment. Still, there were signs of life. While the first week of camp has been mostly filled with setbacks for Sanders, Saturday offered a glimmer of hope. That morning, Shedeur led what was widely considered his best practice of the entire camp. Working on the secondary field, he completed multiple high-pressure throws, including a laser touchdown on a crossing route to rookie receiver Luke Floria. In the ensuing red zone 7-on-7 session, he followed with back-to-back touchdown passes. Evidence that the elite accuracy and touch he showed at Colorado hasn't vanished. It wasn't just garbage-time stats. It was rhythm, confidence, command. And for the first time, media reports began to acknowledge the shift. Shedeur Sanders steps up on Saturday. One headline read, While it wasn't enough to catapult him into the first-team huddle, it was a step, a vital one. And in the NFL, sometimes that's all it takes to flip a narrative. Why has he been overlooked? The question every fan and analyst seems to be asking, why hasn't Shedeur gotten more of a shot? It's not about talent. His college film speaks for itself. His numbers, both in college and OTAs, show promise. His leadership, presence, and football IQ have never been in question. So what gives? One insider suggests it's a mix of optics and timing. Shedeur's brand is already bigger than some veterans. That can rub people the wrong way, the insider explained. And the Browns are trying to build around structure and stability. There's a fear of disrupting that. Others point to his draft spot. A fifth-round pick, even a hyped one, starts lower on the priority list than a third-rounder like Gabriel or a seasoned vet like Flacco. Still, others say it's about development. Shedeur holds the ball too long. His arm strength is NFL average. He needs refinement, said an AFC North scout. But his ceiling is undeniable. And that, ultimately, may be the Browns' quiet strategy. Slow cook Shedeur Sanders. Develop him behind the scenes. Let the dust settle. Then unleash him. If true, it's a plan, but one that comes with risk. Because Shedeur Sanders isn't the type to sit quietly forever. Coach Prime's shadow. Every step Shedeur takes is in the light or shadow of his father, Deion Sanders. That can be both a blessing and a burden. The comparisons are constant. The expectations? Astronomical. Coach Prime has always told his sons, earn everything. And Shedeur has lived that motto, from Jackson State to Colorado to now. But even Deion might raise an eyebrow at the way Cleveland has handled his son's introduction to pro football. Especially after the team gave Shedeur's iconic number 2 jersey to a veteran who had never worn it before. An act that sparked outrage from fans and Shedeur's agent, Boog Knight. From jersey drama to depth chart snubs, it feels like a battle at every turn. And yet, Shedeur hasn't flinched. What's next? Monday marks a new chapter in Browns camp. Full pads come on. Contact increases. Separation begins. For Shedeur Sanders, this is the opportunity he's been waiting for. To show not just skill, but toughness, grit, command in chaos. Every snap he takes now is a resume entry. Every throw a potential highlight or a red flag. He doesn't need to leapfrog 3 quarterbacks in a day. He just needs to keep stacking good reps. Keep making people question the plan. Keep showing why he was once considered a potential top 5 pick before media narratives and draft politics pulled him down. The Browns may not be ready to change their depth chart today. But Saturday proved something crucial. Shedeur Sanders isn't going away. He's learning. He's adjusting. And yes, he's coming. Final thoughts. The underdog in the dog pound. There's a reason underdog stories resonate so deeply in Cleveland. From Bernie Kosar to Baker Mayfield to Nick Chubb, this city has always rallied behind the overlooked. Shedeur Sanders could be the next chapter in that saga. The stats are still there, the poise is intact, and the fire is burning hotter than ever. As camp rolls on and bodies tire, injuries mount, and clarity emerges, don't be surprised if Shedeur finds his moment. One rep at a time, one Saturday at a time. The dog pound loves a fighter. And Shedeur Sanders is still in the fight. Browns QB drama intensifies. Kevin Stefanski's depth chart exposed as Joe Flacco faces retirement crossroads and Shedeur Sanders fades to the fringe. Berea, Ohio, the Cleveland Browns quarterback room is looking less like a competitive open field and more like a classified document with visible redactions. Head coach Kevin Stefanski has tried to downplay any premature decisions, famously saying his QB plan is in pencil. But after nearly a week of training camp, the Browns' pencil marks are growing darker, clearer, and harder to erase. Behind closed doors, a pecking order is forming. And it doesn't bode well for rookie Shedeur Sanders, whose promising college pedigree and preseason hype haven't translated into meaningful opportunities with the first team. Meanwhile, Joe Flacco, The 40-year-old who turned into Cleveland's cult hero last season is quietly grabbing more control of the narrative while addressing retirement rumors that continue to swirl. If Stefanski hoped to manage a clean, drama-free quarterback battle this offseason, that hope is rapidly slipping through his fingers. For quarterbacks, one job and a pencil plan that's becoming permanent. Entering 2025, the Browns' quarterback competition was marketed as wide open. With Deshaun Watson out to start camp, the door was supposedly wide open for anyone, to seize the moment. But in reality, the competition isn't as open as Stefanski suggested. On day 4 of training camp, an unmistakable shift occurred. Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, and rookie Dillon Gabriel took their reps together on the primary field. Shedeur Sanders? He was reassigned to another field entirely, running drills with backups and depth players. The message didn't come through a press release or tweet, but it couldn't have been louder. As Locked On Browns' Spencer German reported, this visual separation gave early clarity into how the coaching staff truly views its QB chart. No formal announcement from Stefanski, no dramatic declarations, just the unmistakable evidence of separation. It's a depth chart that looks like a 1A and 1B being Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett, German said, confirming what many insiders have suspected for weeks. Dillon Gabriel is that next in line, and Shedeur Sanders being sort of the man bringing up the rear here. The plan in pencil may not have been announced, but it's being executed with quiet precision. And for Sanders, it's becoming clear he's not in Stefanski's short-term equation. A stark reality for Shedeur Sanders. The trajectory of Shedeur Sanders' professional start has been one of contrasts. After a record-setting college career at Jackson State and Colorado, including a 510-yard debut against TCU and a video game-esque comeback win over Colorado State, Sanders came into the NFL as a high-upside, low-cost fifth-round pick. His off-season numbers reflected promise. During OTAs and minicamp, Sanders completed over 77% of his passes with 9 touchdowns to just 1 interception. Analysts began to wonder aloud if the Browns had stolen a future franchise QB. But that early shine faded quickly once training camp began. For days in, Sanders remains the only quarterback who has not taken a single rep with the first-team offense. Not one. Despite injuries and inconsistencies among his peers, he's confined to second-field drills and opportunity periods. Coach speak for practice scraps meant for long shots and future practice squad members. If there were ever a moment for Sanders to ascend the depth chart, it came when Kenny Pickett tweaked his hamstring during a red zone drill on July 27th. With Deshaun Watson unavailable and Pickett out for reevaluation, the Browns could have given Sanders a few trial reps with the ones. Instead, those snaps went to Flacco and Gabriel. Sanders remains boxed in, and the longer the status quo continues, the more apparent it becomes. Shedeur's rookie season may be more developmental than dynamic. 1A and 1B, Joe Flacco versus Kenny Pickett. While Sanders drifts in the periphery, 2 very different quarterbacks are defining the race at the top. On one side is Joe Flacco, the calm, cool 40-year-old veteran with the resume to back up his presence. On the other is Kenny Pickett, a former first-rounder on his second NFL team, who arrived in Cleveland with a chip on his shoulder and something to prove. Their contrasting energies have been on full display. Pickett, according to Cleveland.com's Mary Kay Cabot, was very adamant that the Browns promised him a legitimate shot to win the job. His intensity and focus reflect that belief. He approaches every drill like it's game day, barking instructions, calling audibles, and engaging with receivers between reps. Flacco, in contrast, carries a laid-back but confident demeanor. He sounded like a guy who wants to win this job, Dan Labb observed, but didn't push the message like Pickett did. Flacco's playoff magic last season, dubbed Flacco Fever by fans, still lingers in the air at Browns camp. After leading the team to a postseason berth in 2023, the veteran earned folk hero status. Fans wear his jersey. Chants break out when he enters drills, and even teammates seem to rally around his dad-like calm. Cabot perhaps put it best. Any quarterback that comes in here, is going to have to try to overcome the Flacco fever. So far, none have. The Flacco retirement question that won't die. One subplot hanging over Flacco's camp performance is the ever-looming question of retirement. At age 40, and with over 18 years of wear and tear, the speculation is warranted. But Flacco isn't entertaining it, not seriously. "I feel like I can play this game at a high level still," he told NFL Network during a recent interview. "It's just what you do." Football isn't a job for Flacco. It's muscle memory, a lifestyle. While he admitted retirement peeps in your head, occasionally, he remains firm in his belief that he still has more to give. "I think there's so much more I can give," he added. That perspective helps explain why he's been the steadiest performer through the first week of camp. While others chase the moment, Flacco has been living it for 2 decades. Yet not everyone is convinced. Asante Samuel calls out Flacco's motivations. Former Pro Bowl cornerback and current analyst Asante Samuel had a scathing take on Flacco's NFL longevity. "Joe Flacco is robbing with no mask on," Samuel said bluntly during a podcast. "He's just here for a final paycheck." Samuel suggested Flacco's fire is gone, that he's not chasing greatness anymore, just chasing the clock. "Signed, sealed, and delivered," he said, insisting that Flacco's camp appearance is more of a farewell tour than a comeback mission. But even if Samuel's take gains traction online, Flacco's actions on the field tell a different story. He's still out there, still winning reps, and perhaps most importantly, still winning the trust of coaches. Stefanski's balancing act. Kevin Stefanski finds himself in a uniquely pressurized situation. He has a fan base hungry for quarterback stability, a front office with big investments in multiple QBs, and a locker room that could tilt any number of ways depending on who ultimately wins the job. His commitment to letting practice shape the outcome is commendable. But at some point, decisions will need to be made. The 1A, 1B structure between Flacco and Pickett provides a convenient buffer zone, allowing Stefanski to avoid immediate controversy. But the further we move into camp, the more that structure begins to calcify. And when one quarterback, Shedeur Sanders, isn't getting any top reps at all, the pencil plan feels more like permanent ink. The long game for Shedeur Sanders. So where does this leave Sanders? For now, he's in the waiting room. The Browns clearly see him as a long-term project. His elite college stats, 14,347 yards, 134 touchdowns, are acknowledged but not yet trusted at the NFL level. Concerns about his pocket timing, arm strength under pressure, and transition to pro-style schemes remain. Still, Saturday's performance, in which he threw 3 touchdowns in opportunity period reps, was a sign that the fire hasn't dimmed. If he continues stacking those kinds of practices, Stefanski and company may be forced to revisit the depth chart. Until then, the climb continues. Final thoughts. The season is coming, and the decisions are closing in. The Browns' quarterback competition is no longer a mystery. Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett are at the top, 1A and 1B, with Pickett pushing for a legacy reboot and Flacco chasing one final act. Dillon Gabriel is the developmental pick, someone the Browns clearly want to mold. And Shedeur Sanders? For now, he's the talent hidden in plain sight, the prospect with the pedigree, potential, and persistence to eventually break through, if he gets the chance. The question is, will he? In Cleveland, the dog days of summer are exposing more than just camp battles. They're exposing a truth about how the Browns see their future and who's part of it.